Hello there, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And for the second film in Phase 4 of Marvel, I definitely have to say this is an adventure that I thought would be a little inconsequential, but might actually lead to bigger things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe than I was originally thinking of. On top of that, it just gives us a really fun martial arts adventure filled with new worlds, new characters, and a new way of looking at how Marvel will be structured in the future. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is that Shang-Chi, played by Simu Liu, is living in San Francisco with his friend Katie, played by Aquafina, as they're doing valet parking and generally trying to enjoy life. That is until the Ten Rings terrorist group shows up trying to get Shang-Chi's pendant, and they're going after him and his sister as they are trying to get the pendants for Shang-Chi's father, who trained him from a very young age to be an absolute killing force when it comes to his martial arts training. But that's all I'll say about the story. Because one of the things that I really like about this is how the story fits together and how it really feels like the film does trick you at times. The film definitely has a lot of great moments when it comes to its martial arts fighting and when it comes to its CGI implementation, of course. But the story also managed to really surprise me at times when it comes to how certain characters were portrayed, and when it comes to how certain events ended up. Granted, it still has some Marvel staples like a lot of comedy in certain scenes, Fight Club that features some characters you might remember from the previous films. Wong and Abomination have a pretty cool fight in that respect. And there's, of course, the big CGI fight at the end, but said CGI is actually pretty good. And I actually do appreciate that there's a lot of creative designs in that final fight to make it feel like the CGI was actually worth something and not CGI that was just used for, say, rhinos. Speaking of animals, along with Chinese dragons and various other things from that type of design, there's also this lovable little furry guy named Maurice in the film who I'm sure is made for merchandising, but I think he's utterly adorable. I think he's going to catch on like the Porgs did in Star Wars. And I really do appreciate that Shang-Chi definitely seems like a typical Marvel hero at the start, but his backstory as well as his inner struggles do make him more interesting. Honestly, if he didn't have those, I wouldn't think he's that interesting of a Marvel hero, but the fact that said backstory and said inner struggles are there are part of what made me connect with him. Aquafina's really funny as Katie, and she even has some good moments outside of being a comic relief. And same goes for Shang-Chi's father, his sister, his aunt, played by Michelle Yeoh, and even characters that I didn't expect from this film that actually make references to Iron Man 3 and actually connect that film to this film, especially when it comes to the use of the Mandarin and the the Ten Rings. It's actually pretty clever how they tie it all together. As far as the after credit scenes go, there's two in the film, one of which looks like it's building up to something that could happen in one of the future Marvel films that has to do with multiverses, and the other that feels like it's definitely just going to set up the fact that if this does well, it probably will, that Shang-Chi is definitely going to come back at some point later in this universe. And I figured he would after everything that I saw, considering that they wouldn't make all this effort just to throw him away after one film. So yeah, outside of a final battle that I felt went on for a little too long and a little bit of clunky writing at the beginning, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is an absolutely astounding film that honestly is the shot in the arm that I feel Phase 4 needed, which is why I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. See you next time.